Parliament's Justice Committee says an investigation into former Justice Minister Thembi Simelane's VBS links has been closed. The probe was to determine whether there was a conflict of interest in terms of the minister's responsibility over the National Prosecuting Authority. Let's bring in Xola Nqola, who is the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development. Xola, welcome. Thanks very much for coming on. What does it mean when the committee says that the probe is closed? What does that mean?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers, and thank you for having us this afternoon. Well, ours was to probe a possible conflict of interest from the side of the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. It follows the Constitution, the prescripts of the Constitution, which is Section 179, subsection 6, and the prescripts of the National Prosecuting Authority Act, Section 33, which places a Minister of Justice to exercise final authority over the NPA. So if the NPA is undergoing prosecutions of VBS-related matters, and the person, according to law, who has final authority over the prosecuting authority may be conflicted. Mm-hmm. So immediately after we've had that kind of meeting, we had to process some other things, which we're processing them. Then the president has changed the Minister of Justice. So we're dealing with a new Minister of Justice, whom currently has no possible conflict in terms of the Constitution and the NPA Act. So for us, the journey ends here. If any other committee or any other entity of state wants to pursue the matter, they can pursue. But it now falls outside our competence as the committee. So we have closed it because the Minister of Justice currently is the one who are making accountable to Parliament and to the people of South Africa.
Correct. So closed doesn't necessarily mean resolved, because, as you say, the new Justice Minister is Mameloko Kubai, and we know that the former Justice Minister has been redeployed to human settlements. But the point is that closing this inquiry doesn't resolve the inquiry, and I just wonder whether this raises questions about whether there might be other ministers who are implicated in other serious allegations, and all they need to do to avoid a portfolio committee inquiry is to change portfolios and be reshuffled.
Yes, closing it. Remember, we have explained that the actual issue was a possible conflict of interest as it relates to prosecutions in the NPA. Now, if she's no longer a Minister of Justice, therefore is not accountable to our committee. But this does not necessarily mean that a probe has been closed, but it's the committee that has ended its work that it was doing as it relates to a Minister of Justice. Mm-hmm. So other entities may continue. We're told that Hawks are investigating the matter. We're told that the public protector has shown interest. The president is attending to the matter. So it does not necessarily mean that the minister has been absolved from accounting on the allegation, but it actually means that we as the committee, we have stopped it because the crux and the essence of our inquiry was issues relating to a possible conflict of interest with the NPA. So if, in terms of law, a Minister of Justice exercises final authority over NPA, then that person we're probing is no longer a Minister of Justice. So it means the reason of our probe or our inquiry to the Minister of Justice has actually collapsed, because we have a new Minister of Justice whose name has not yet been fingered in any matters related to a possible conflict of interest with the NPA in terms of the Constitution and the law. So it does not necessarily mean that it is the end of the probe or the investigation. It means we as the committee have now closed the matter because it no longer falls within the competence of our committee. Ms. Simelane is no longer the Minister of Justice. Ours is to make sure that the Minister of Justice is accountable over the use of the budget, their actions as ministers. So if issues of a possible breach of the Executive Ethics Code or Executive Ethics Act arise, a different institution will actually be dealing with that, not the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development.
I think your point is well made, that you are the portfolio, that you're the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development, and Thembi Simelane is no longer the minister in that portfolio. But I wonder, Xola, given the scathing findings by the State Capture report on the failure of Parliament to exercise oversight over the executive at key points during the State Capture years, whether that doesn't mean that even as the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development, that you cannot just wash your hands of the matter just because Thembi Simelane is no longer in that portfolio, but surely some kind of recommendations can be made so that we ensure that that kind of oversight failure we saw during the State Capture years doesn't happen again.
Yes, correctly. We are devoted to ensure that we recover from what the Commission of the Zondo Commission has said about the role of Parliament and Parliament failing to keep up to its constitutional role. So hence we're saying the matter is not closed, but the issue is it falls now outside the competence of our committee. But this is what we can do, only at a request, is to provide the information that may be requested from us since the day we started the inquiry. What has the legal, the Parliamentary Legal Unit said about the handling of those confidential documents and all the related information. So our only participation would actually be handing over, at a request, of course, handing over to whatever institution that wants us to share information in terms of the work we've done, when did we stop, okay, what did we get, and all those things. So we definitely will hand over that to anybody who is dealing with the matter. Remember, the minister is also a member of Parliament. So it means that they are a subject of the rules of Parliament, they are a subject of the powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament Act. So if Parliament wants to process the matter, the Ethics Committee and all the relative bodies of Parliament will simply share the information that we have in our disposal so that we help them to exercise their powers efficiently and effectively.
Xola Nqola, let me thank you for your time this afternoon. He is the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development, effectively telling us that the committee's job was to investigate whether there is a conflict of interest in terms of the minister's responsibility of the NPA, and Thembi Simelane is no longer in that portfolio. She is now Human Settlements Minister.